Welcome back to the Nato Twins episode 16, where we talk about all things business and money. Today's topic is a really, really great one. We're going to be talking about 6 money myths that you have to avoid. Okay. Hey, twin.
Hi, twin. Welcome, everyone. Yes. So today we're going to have another conversation about money, this time about all those things they tell us when we're growing up about money that it's like programming us to think a certain way. We need to start understanding those, unlearning those so that we can get ahead and do better things with our money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and get started with number 1?
Yeah. So number 1, I want to take this one on because it's something I've heard my whole life, which is credit cards are bad. Always use cash, right? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that is like, I grew up thinking that way. You know, credit cards always got this bad rap, right? Like you shouldn't have any. If you have 1 or 2, don't use them, pay off your balance right away. When really the conversation should be learn how you can use credit and leverage your credit to, further expand your financial life. So, of course, we're not even taught about credit to begin with. So when we do come across it, we use it in such a irresponsible way, which is the reason why a lot of people are in debt, early on, right after college or during college kind of thing, or even if you don't go to college, but right after, you become an adult and you're presented with the opportunity to have credit, a lot of us mess it up because we just don't know. But my point is, leading up to that point, we're always told that, you should always use cash. So is kind of one of those things where, it's giving a really bad, interpretation of the use of funds or lines of credit. So in my case, first I used it incorrectly when I first got it. And then I stopped using credit cards because, again, that whole little message of use cash only, credit is bad became my thing. And then I realized that by using cash, I wasn't even fixing the problem to begin with. So those are just one of the things that, we all need to stop repeating and actually learning how to use credit to get ahead. So what do you think about that?
I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think that is essential for every single one of us to understand that credit is important, and trying to think that is not important, it's kind of delusional in a way, because if you think about it, we need credit for everything. I mean, credit determines the interest rate on your home, on your car, and even on certain, even when you rent. So it's not just for ownership, but also for, when you're trying to rent things as well. So you have to be okay with the idea of credit, but most importantly, how to use credit responsibly, right? Because if you think that you avoid it for the rest of your life, that you're just gonna, live a happy life. But in reality, if you learn how to use credit responsibly, especially credit cards, you will understand the power that these credit cards have. Yes, we do know that a lot of credit cards have these really high interest rates, and a lot of people could get stuck. But you only really worry about those things if you're not using it correctly. So, for example, one of the things that I use or that I do to make sure that, I'm using my credit responsibly is that I put all of my monthly expenses on my credit cards. Why? Because I know I'm going to pay those things back right away. But at the same time, in a lot of my credit cards, I get to build points. I get to build rewards that I can then use those rewards to, fund for my next airplane ticket to DR or Florida. Right. So now in a way, it's I'm pretty much being rewarded to pay my bills on time, right? To do what I'm already doing, what I would do directly from my checkings, I'm just now doing it for my credit cards. And it's a way for me to kind of again, it's that incentive that I'm going to build rewards and things like that. So that's a way that I keep my credit cards active. I'm always paying them on time, right? Making sure that, I'm not jeopardizing my credit, or that I'm, not going to be delinquent or anything on any of my credit cards. So I feel like the use of using it correctly, as much as we want to think that cash is king, is not. No. Because cash is the power of the dollar is, diminishing per second. Like inflation's at a 7%. That means if you're not at
Crazy.
least earning 7% or more on, on your money, you're losing it, right? So
Right.
you want to make sure that you're putting your money to work for you. Use credit, leverage credit, because I'm telling you that it's gonna pay you back. I know a lot of people may think this is crazy, but in reality, it will pay you back if you use
Absolutely
it
agree.
correctly.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And again, it's if you're using cash as a form of controlling your expenses is one thing. Like if you're like, you know what, I'm only going to carry cash throughout the day so that I only spend X amount of money while I'm out and I'm going to leave the credit cards at home, then that's okay because you're using the cash strategy for something. It's a purpose,
Right,
right? It has a
right.
purpose. But it's just one of those things. I think more, the new generation is kind of catching on and they're not really, getting stuck on that whole cash is the best way mentality. But I know that when I was growing up, it was definitely a thing where, our parents were like, don't have credit cards, don't use them, and don't.
Yeah.
So,
It's funny because my parents were horrible with credit cards, and then it's like they would share credit cards or share accounts, and
yeah.
then one would spend and then the other one will pay them off or save money, and it wasn't a really healthy money relationship, right? I got my first credit card at like 18. I remember I don't even remember applying for it. Back then, a lot of like these colleges or
Yeah.
a lot of these financial institutions will hunt for college students, and they will just send them a credit card, right?
That's how I got
Luckily,
mine.
luckily I didn't really know much of how to use a credit card, so I didn't really fully start to use it like maybe 2-3 years after I had it, but
Yeah.
I already started building my credit then. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of people get scared of credit card because they think that, oh, this money I have, I don't know how to spend it properly. Well, think about it. It's not your money, it's borrowed money. So I
Right.
would say only spend on a credit card as much as you can actually afford, right? As much as you know that you will be able to pay back on the next pay cycle.
Right. Right. Exactly. Great advice. Great advice. Love it.
So the
So,
next one, oh, go ahead,
no,
Tim.
no, go ahead, twin.
So the next one that we want to, kind of nip in the butt as well is I don't have enough time for retirement. And the reason why I felt like this is, a really good conversation to talk about is because, as many of you guys know, I'm in the financial industry and I sit down with a lot of people. I'm analyzing their financial house, kind of dissecting everything. And what I commonly see very in a lot of these situations is that people are not prepared for retirement. I'm talking about people that are like 5-10 years away for retirement and they have little
Crazy.
to show for it. They think that Social Security is enough. But when you go on ssa.gov, by the way, that is, if anybody here
Mhm.
that's watching this, you want to go and see what your, Social Security funds are going to look like for retirement, you can easily go on ssa.gov and you can get like an estimate to see,
Mhm.
what your retirement would look like at the age of 62, 65, 67, or even 70, right? Of course, the longer you wait, the more you'll get from Social
Mhm.
Security. But a lot of people think that that's enough. And then when they see that they're only getting like 300 or even 500, it's like, what am I supposed to do with that,
Right.
right? So, and that's where we look for other ways to supplement their retirement. But I feel like usually when you don't have enough time, you need more money, right? That means you need to invest more, you need to do more. And a lot of times when people are ready, at a certain age, they don't care to be aggressive when it comes to the investment because they cannot risk losing a lot of money, right? So
Mhm.
I would say the younger you start, the better. Do not think that, oh, retirement is just for old. I feel like a lot of people think that
Yeah.
when they think of retirement, they think somebody that's like old, gray hair, wrinkly. Like in
Yeah.
reality, retirement nowadays looks so different. And then the
Absolutely.
faster you plan for it, the faster you can retire, right? Or the
Yeah.
younger you can retire. So I always say, like, I've been planning for retirement since I started working because I knew
Mhm.
it was one of those things. One, I don't want to work for the rest of my life, right? And I knew the importance of putting my money to work for me so I can have the control and say, you know what, I'm tired. I want to rest and I want to go to the beach and,
Yeah.
drink a daiquiri or whatever. I have the power to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I used to feel the same way. Like years ago, I would be like, who's thinking about retirement? Like I'm in my
Yeah,
20s.
like I have
I got time.
time.
I'm trying to find my next weekend trip out of here. Like, what am I even talking about? But then I realized that time flies by, which I think a lot of people underestimate how quickly time goes.
Correct.
Like we finish one year, it's another year, and then another year, right? Like if you sit down to think about how fast the last 10 years have gone by, it's crazy. So it's like retirement will be here before you know it. I mean, at least retirement age. So if you're not working towards that goal, of hopefully retiring before your time so that you can have more
Yeah.
time to enjoy life. If you're not planning ahead, then you're going to find yourself like a lot of these elders that are right now struggling to pay their bills and retiring and even going back to work like
Hmm.
a year later, 2 years later, because they realized that their money was not enough to live that, to sustain that retired lifestyle. So definitely never too early to start. That's for sure.
Never too early, never too early. And it also goes back to the misconception that people think that retirement is an age when in
Right.
reality is a number. And it's
That's right.
identifying the sooner you identify how much money you need to be able to retire, you can retire whenever, you
That's
know?
right.
It's unfortunate that a lot of times we see a lot of people that are, 67 or even 70. Like, for example, when I go to Walmart, to
Always.
like in other states, I usually a lot of the employers are like older, elderly people because
Yeah.
it's not that they don't want to retire, it's that they don't have enough money to do so because they come to the sad realization that social security or their pension isn't enough. And now they're like, well, I need to continue working in order to make a living.
Right.
So you don't want to be like that. Learn from other people's mistakes, right? Don't try to figure it out on your own. I feel like planning for retirement, you can't go wrong planning early for retirement.
Yeah.
Okay, so make sure you do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really crazy out there for sure. I want to talk a little bit about how we're told to save your money. Investing is risky. Like the whole, don't invest, don't put your hand, not don't invest. That's not the right word, but like when you hear a lot of, the stock market, it's scary. Don't buy rental properties. Your tenants won't pay your rent, right? Like all these other investment avenues that usually people are discouraged about because they don't want to take the risk. So
Mm-hmm.
you hear a lot of, stash your cash, right? Put your money in the bank, save it, save your money, save your money. But then you quickly realize that leaving that money in the bank is not doing anything for you, right? Interest rates are really low. You're not getting any really, less than 1%. And then two, by not investing, you're losing out because there's all these other avenues where, in history have shown that that's where really your money should be so that it can grow at a faster pace than it's sitting in a savings account. So I always tell people, saving is important. You want to save enough to have your emergency fund and have your nice cushion in there in the event something happens where you're not employed anymore or things like that. But essentially, what you want to do is take a small percentage of your income and put that into investing, whether that's, having an Acorns account where you don't need to learn, you don't need to know about stock investing, but your money's being invested for you. Learn about stocks and start buying, things there. Maybe save a down payment, get yourself a rental property where you can get some extra cash flow. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. I think that saving your cash only, like if that's your only focus, that's a very risky focus as it is.
Right. And I also feel like I want to add that in saying that investing is risky is subjective because you don't necessarily have to be risky when you invest. Like first you need to identify what type of investor you are. And this is what I tell people all the time. Some people are a little bit more conservative, some people are moderate, some people can stomach the risk, right? But you need to identify who you are. I feel like when a lot of people see that other people are investing, they get what I call FOMO, the fear of missing out. So they're
Yeah.
like, you know what? People are investing in these cryptos and all these things. I want to get in. Then they lose money and they're like, oh, I can't stomach the pain, right? They become emotional when it comes to investing because they never took the time out to really identify what type of investor they are. You don't have to be risky when you invest. There's actually things like index funds that minimize the risk for you. Actually, sometimes you don't even have any risk involved
Right.
in investing in index funds, but you can get a really good rate of return, especially if we're comparing it to savings or CDs, all these other vehicles that aren't really putting your money to work for you, right? So you don't necessarily have to associate investing with it being risky. First, tell you, suggest that you identify what type of risk taker you are
Mhm.
and be okay with that. Look for investments that fall within your investment level on your investment risk. You don't have to follow the crowd or follow the herd.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
feels right for you.
That's very important you mentioned that, because nowadays this is what it is. Everyone's like, I saw crypto. Oh, I saw someone that got
Yeah.
maybe money with Bitcoin. Oh, that stock, buy Apple, buy this, buy that.
And then
And then
they
it's
get
like,
desperate, they make really bad investment choices, and then they lose a lot of money, and then they're trying to bring the whole world. No, you had to be responsible with your money, take the time out to learn, and then decide if this is something that you really want to do.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Super important. Again, get away from that whole FOMO mentality. I mean, the internet will
Yes.
have you thinking that you're behind.
I know, forget about it. Like now everyone is talking about it. And I understand why a lot of people could be like, oh my God, I'm missing out. What's this new,
Yeah,
trend? Like, but don't just hop on trends, because honestly, you're gonna continuously be hopping on every trend that's out here, and you're never gonna really truly identify what type of investor you are, and then it's not
absolutely.
gonna be fun. It's gonna feel like, something that you're always chasing. Just
Yeah,
be okay with not following the crowd, and being true to who you are. If your investment style is a little boring and
yeah.
conservative, hey, so
Let it
be it, right?
be. Yeah.
Let it
Let
be.
it be.
Like, don't try to adjust to other people's investing style, because you don't know, one, how much money they're investing, and two, what their investment risk is, right? Or their
Right.
experience and things like that. So little to know, we're not telling you not to invest. We're telling you to do it wisely. Okay. That's
Absolutely.
all.
Yes. Well said.
Now, the another one that I feel like is extremely common in a lot of our communities is the concept of keeping up with the Joneses. I feel like this is another
Ooh.
myth that we need to like nip in the butt as fast as possible. And I feel like sometimes we don't even really know that we're doing it, but we start comparing our lives to someone else. Like, hey, this
Yep.
person bought a new car, this person bought a new house, this person is upgrading their lifestyle. I want to do it too, and it
Yep.
starts to happen like it with our group of friends or family, right? Like everybody wants to like kind of like, show out, show big, but
Compete,
in
compete.
reality, compete, right? But in reality, it's kind of like those things do not signify wealth, like the latest car or the latest
Nope.
house or like a new house does not necessarily signify wealth, so you need to, instead of always trying to do what everyone else is doing, and again, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about previously, following the crowd, do what you can actually do.
That's
What
right.
can you afford? Like you don't have to have the newest iPhone every time that comes out. Your kids don't have to have the
Oh
newest
my
iPhone.
goodness. Crazy,
Like I
crazy.
see, I see 12-year-olds with like the latest iPhone, and I'm like, I literally just upgraded my phone. I've had the
Right.
iPhone 7 for God knows how long. Right? But
Yep.
I make money from my phone.
Yeah.
These 12-year-olds are not. They're just on TikTok,
TikTok and
So,
YouTube. Yep. Exactly.
so I just feel like this mentality of like comparing, especially because we do it comparing with one another, it's hurting our pockets. And it's actually in a way keeping us broke, right?
Yep.
Keeping us in poverty, because we're putting too much attention and too much money on unnecessary expenses, when we should really start thinking about, ways to truly elevate our wealth as a family for
Right.
generations to come.
That's right. Listen, the keeping up with the Joneses is so ridiculous in my mind, because it's never proven to be a formula for success, right? When you look at other ethnic groups, and I'm talking from our Latino culture to other groups, right? Other communities that do not focus on keeping up with the Joneses. You have millionaires in other communities walking around with basic Nikes and a basic pair of jeans and driving a Nissan, and they're good with it, right?
Yeah.
And then you have people in our community living at home with their parents or in the projects driving Range Rovers. And this is like a legitimate statement. I'm not even lying when I
Yeah.
say it. So
Yes.
again, that keeping up with the Joneses thing, it will keep you so far behind. It will keep you always in debt. Every year you're going to have credit card debt. Every year you're going to have to hustle to pay those off. It doesn't ever stop. That cycle doesn't stop.
You're
So
hustling backwards. That's how I see it.
backwards, big time. So I growing up in my culture, of course, at the beginning of my adult life, it was always like, oh, I want that bag, or I want those, I want that, at least that new truck that I can get, because I can pay it off, with 2 weeks check, because I live at home with my mom, like that mentality. But then it's like, then you realize quickly that, you work jobs that you don't like, you work jobs that you hate going to every day, but then you got to use that money to pay all of these things that you're just using it to show off. And it's just
No.
so ridiculous. So ridiculous.
But people get caught up, right? They get caught up, and it's like all of a sudden you're like thousands and
Yep.
thousands of dollars in debt. You're like drowning in debt, but you know what happens if you get laid off? Like now you got to file for bankruptcy. Like it's just these things
Yeah.
that again it's just a way to hustle backwards. Like at the end of the day, no one is going to really remember what clothes you were wearing during your lifetime. It's not like anybody is sitting down and taking notes like, oh,
Right.
Rosalind, today she's wearing a Gucci bag. Like
Right.
no one is doing that. No one cares. I think you should be thinking about like building wealth and within your family, making sure you guys have proper investments. And I know there's ways, and I hope that we get into a topic about this in our podcast about how to even have your cars under your business credit, right? And
Yes.
write that off. So I definitely hope that's a conversation that, we
Yeah.
get to have for you guys. But it's just a way for you. We just want to let you guys know that we know what it's like. Okay. We're not telling you that you should not invest in yourself. Like I know sometimes you want to reward yourself every now and then, but don't make it a habit where you have to forcefully do it because you have to constantly prove yourself to others. And in
Right.
reality, you are a combination of the 5 people you hang around with the most. Or your net worth is a
Yeah.
combination of the 5 people you hang around the most. So if you want to elevate your network, you have to think about what can I do to be in other circles, and what are the habits that those people are doing that I can pick up so I can also elevate my network and my circle.
Yeah.
So
And trust me, that quality or level of mindset, they're not worried about keeping up with the Joneses at all. It's the last thing from their
because they
minds.
have it. They really truly have it, and therefore they don't have to prove it. Like Warren Buffett is still living in the house that he purchased like in the 70s or before
Right.
that, I think.
Yeah.
Like if we look at Mark Zuckerberg, like you would never think Mark Zuckerberg can walk past you on the street with like a t-shirt and some jeans, and you will not think that this man is worth billions of dollars.
That's right.
Like, but that's because they know they have it. Like I remember I think Mark Zuckerberg had a post of a birthday party that they did for like for their children, a really basic birthday party. Like looks like their decorations were bought in like Dollar Tree.
Oh my
But that's
God.
because they tell you like, I'm not gonna put so much emphasis on extravagant birthday parties because I know that my kids, college fund is really well funded, and that's what they care the most about. And we don't do that in our culture. It's like our kids' birthday party, forget about it. Like
the
it has
baby
to be
showers.
Like a gala.
Listen, I want to have a whole episode on this. I told you about that.
Yeah, we need to.
How we spend money, so ridiculous amount of money on kids' first birthdays.
Yeah, but then when it comes to college, I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
exactly.
I spend all the money on your birthday parties. I don't have anything.
Figure it out.
We're laughing about it, but we're really serious about this. Like it's something, we've experienced this so many times that, we're like completely like over it at this point, but we really feel like we have to start doing things differently to help our children, help them not have to, struggle. Like it's okay to pay for their college, or, give them something that can help them in the future, like a down payment on a home, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, we got to narrow that gap, guys. We've got to narrow the gap. We're way behind.
Other cultures are doing this already.
Facts. Yeah, so money is the root of all evil. How many times have you heard that?
I heard this a lot growing up. This is definitely one that I heard a lot growing up. Luckily, as an adult, I don't hear it a lot more now because I think a lot of people are more conscious and aware of like certain money habits, and like they get in tune of where they're rooted from. And that whole money is the root of all evil is something that, we growing up, especially a lot of like the Latin culture, we thought that a lot of people would think that, if you wanting money or you getting money, it's just going to change who you are. Like you're going to become this evil person. And you used to think that people that had money were evil. Right. And then it's like, you start to notice that you're kind of doing things repelling like money, when you have it,
limiting,
when you have it, you don't even have it for too long. You just got to spend it because you think that it's going to ultimately alter who you are.
Right. Yeah. It's that it creates a limiting belief big time where you're like, I can only get to this much or this level, because if I go past that, I'm going to be looked at as an evil person, or I'm going to change, or money changes people. That's another one, right? That they're like, oh, money changes people. It's like, no, people are people, and money just lets them show how they
It
really are.
exposes
That's
you.
what it is.
Exactly. It exposes you.
Yeah. And I always say, you can't call money the evil. Money is necessary, right? So whenever we think about everything, education, health, what we eat, what we don't eat, what kind of medical care we get when we get sick, everything revolves around money and your level of accessibility to it. So, when folks used to talk that way, at least around in my circle right now, we're not using that anymore. I don't hear it as often, like you said, because we realize that money is a powerful tool, right? Like, you can't even help your family member or help someone in need if you don't have any money. So
Exactly.
it's just one of those things that, you can aim to be in a very good financial spot, but always keep in mind that it's not going to change who you are unless you allow it to.
Absolutely. And I feel like the whole, personifying money, like money is not a person, is, like you said, is a tool, is a
Yeah.
resource. So to think that money is gonna, change you or make you a certain way, it can't do anything, right? It does what it does. It's a use for, it's a transfer of energy, a transaction,
Yeah.
right? So it, like I said, it's just exposes your true character, right? Money doesn't make you greedy. You were greedy,
Yeah. Yeah.
with or without money. That's just who you are. But I feel like a lot of people just focus on, that money makes people, do these really bad things. When in reality, we're just focusing on, the bad apples in this world, which in every, in everything there is. But we need to focus on all the good that money allows you to do, right? It allows you to create jobs. It allows you to create housing. It allows you to donate, give back to those in need. So you need to focus on, the more money I have, the better impact I can make in this world, the better I can make this place. And that's what, drives me to want to make money, knowing that if I know I have this tool and more of it, I can give more to others.
Absolutely. Yes. It's you got to have it with purpose, right? It's got to be a purpose behind it, for sure. Don't let it, the purpose be get fancy bags. That should not be. Crazy.
To wrap it up, right? Oh my God, I can't believe we're ready number 6. But to wrap it up, I feel like a very, very important money myth that we need to avoid is thinking that we do not need life insurance, right? And I feel like, I actually made a post about this not so long ago. I was on, GoFundMe, and I was like, let me just see how many funeral cases or, memorial cases are on GoFundMe. And it's almost 1 million cases
Oh my
of people,
gosh.
asking for help to be able to pay for their funeral expenses and memorials from their loved ones. And it's just to think about, like, if someone has something basic like a life insurance or a final expense policies that are, are not even that expensive to have. I think that what it allows you to do, and not I think, but what I know that life insurance allows you to do, is that it transfers that liability onto the company, right? The company will now pay for, the expenses of the funeral, or, to make sure that the family has enough to cover their lifestyle, the living expenses for the next 6 to 10 years after that loved one has passed away. So I feel like thinking that we don't need life insurance, it's like thinking that we're going to live forever.
Right.
It's not possible.
It's not, yeah.
We're not immortal. We all have an expiration date, and we don't know when that date is. And that's what makes things so much more scary, right? You can be, I've seen people that are younger than me, and all of a sudden they have a chronic disease, and they have a couple months to live. And, of course, we don't want to think about this, but we have to be prepared for the worst, expect the best, but prepare the worst. And having life insurance will truly be a blessing, not just for you, but for your loved ones. And not leaving behind any debt or liabilities for them that is not fair for them to take on just because you failed to prepare.
Right. Exactly. Just because you were irresponsible, because it really is being irresponsible at this point. If you're like in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you have kids, maybe you don't have kids, but you have a parent that you take care of, right? Or someone else relies on your income, and that now you're not here, it's like it's the ultimate irresponsible action not to have life insurance. That's how I see it. It's like saying, F you guys, like take care of it. It's not my problem anymore. And it's messed up. And especially when you think of how cheap some of these policies can be, like 30-40 bucks a month, will give you X amount of coverage, but you're blowing 30-40 bucks a week on Grubhub. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
So it's like, it's really irresponsible at this point. Whenever I ask someone, do you have life insurance? And they tell me, oh, no, I haven't had time to sign up. Or, I don't make enough to like have that as an extra bill. I look at them sideways. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, because that's the thing. People think that is a bill, that is an expense, when in reality it's an investment. It's an investment in yourself, in your future, your family's future. And the thing is, like, a lot of people think, well, I don't have time. But in reality, when you need life insurance, it's already too late.
It's late, right?
When you need it, it's like, for example, when the pandemic happened and a lot of people are like rushing, trying to get life insurance, and a lot of the companies were overwhelmed because a lot of people that were applying already had COVID. You understand? Yeah. So it's like, why do we have to wait until something happens for you to realize that you need something? The whole point of life insurance is to prevent it. So whenever you're ready, you feel like you need it, or someone is diagnosed with cancer and they're like, I need to get life insurance. Like, it's already too late. You're uninsurable. In most cases, you're already uninsurable. So a lot of companies are not going to pick up that risk. Right. So you need to think about it. Do it when you're young, do it when you're healthy, and stop thinking that it's too expensive, because it's not. $1 a day can get you life insurance. $2-3 a day. We spend more than that on coffee or, lunch every single day.
Every day.
So it's all about thinking that my family is going to benefit from this much more, than me thinking that it's just an extra bill.
Right. No, listen, these are really, really good conversations to have. I mean, this is why we're doing it, right? This is why we're putting it out there, because some of you might hear this and be like, you know what? They're right. Let's go and get a policy. Let's stop thinking that buying life insurance is calling on death, which is one of the things that, which is the craziest myth ever.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are watching this and don't really know where to start, we're going to add a link in the description. It's a free life insurance quote. You're going to fill that form out. Myself or someone in my team will reach out to you within the next 24 to 40 hours with your life insurance quotes. And, we'll work around your budget. We work around your goals and objectives to make sure that, it's doable and affordable for you.
Perfect. Love it, twin. Yes.
Yes. Awesome. So there you have it, your 6 money myths to avoid. Make sure that you subscribe, share this video, or share this link with someone else that you feel like should hear this conversation, should be a part of it. Okay. Interact with us. All right. And we're definitely hope that you guys took out immense value from this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Till next time.
Ciao,
guys.